The Cycles render engine has long been capable of producing high quality, stunning looking and photorealistic renders. But the one thing it has never been good at is managing VRAM usage. Blender 5.2 is attempting to solve this problem now by introducing a feature many have been calling for: texture caching. In this video, I'll take a look at what the actual memory savings can be on a real scene, the impact on render times, and the possible catch and trade-off that comes with this new feature. Here we have a scene that I recently created to test out the capabilities of Craftsman Cabinet Creator, links in the description. And then I just filled it up with a bunch of assets from iMesh and other places to give it some life. But it's also incredibly unoptimized. There's lots and lots of 4K textures in here, not just on the big objects like the floor, but also on the small ones like the little bottles here and on books, and they're everywhere. So the memory usage here was unreasonably high, but it's still rendered, so I couldn't be bothered with optimizing it any further, which is also the reason why it's perfect to test out the new feature. Before we get into the test though, let's talk about what the texture caching actually does. So the way it worked up till now, all the image textures that you were using in your scene were fully loaded into it, and then the same file got completely uploaded into the VRAM and then during rendering sampled until you finally ran out of memory and got that beautiful message that said system is out of GPU memory. And it didn't matter if you were looking at a near surface that would fill out most of your screen or a far surface where it's taking up a tiny part of the screen. Everything uses that one texture and all of it because only that one resolution exists. Now with texture caching enabled, there is another step in between, and that's the Mip-map generation. And during that step, Mip-maps at lower resolution levels are generated, and depending on the screen space that they are occupying, only the needed levels get loaded into your VRAM and then sampled during rendering. So if you have a near surface, Blender might use Mip-level 0, which means the full resolution texture. But if you have a far surface that only takes up a tiny bit of your screen, or one that is at a steep glancing angle, Blender might use Mip-level 2 or Mip-level 3, depending on how much real estate that texture is taking up on your screen. So the amount of screen space that your texture is taking up determines what level of Mip-map is being used during the rendering. And only the Mip level matching the current screen size is prioritized in VRAM. And the rest stay on a lower priority, or they get evicted, which is another important part of the whole texture caching process, that textures can get evicted. So it's basically like going around doing the render and tossing out the trash as you go. And this keeps the amount of VRAM being used during the render smaller and more flexible as pieces get kicked out. Now the amount of screen space is a matter of ratio pixel density to texel density, which is a topic where you can really go down a rabbit hole, and there is a whole bunch of formulas involved, which means math, so I'm out. I'm more interested in how much VRAM I can actually save with this technique, and that's what we're gonna test right now. So back here in our scene, let's now check what this actually means in practice. So I'm gonna render this first without the texture caching at 1080p. And again, it's a very unoptimized scene, so it'll take a second. And I'm also going to go with a smaller tile size. So I'm gonna set the tile size to 1024 so we can actually see the eviction process in action, at least when we monitor the memory. But I have to do it now already, so we get an accurate comparison. So at 1080p, 256 samples, I'm going to turn off the viewport renderer and hit F12. All right, there we are. So we have a peak memory usage of 17,620. Like I said, it's very unoptimized. So that is quite a lot. And it took 4688 seconds to render. So now I'm going to switch over to slot 2, and I'm going to use the texture caching feature now. In order for this to work though, we need to generate the cache first. So I'm going to turn this on here. And then we need to generate the cache first, and it will create TX files right beside your image textures. So I'm going to click on generate, and it says 400 TX files to be generated. Yeah, like I say, it's a lot. So let's generate that and see how long that is going to take. If I hover over here, I should be able to see it. There we go. It's telling me it's going to take about 30 seconds to generate those TX files alone. Remember, it's 400 for this scene. So that alone already takes a minute. So now that these files are generated, I can render this out. I can also turn on auto generate in case I change anything about my file here. And then during render, whatever has been changed would be updated. So with that active, I'm going to render this scene one more time in 1080p. And as this switches over now, keep an eye on the memory. And note how this is constantly in flux, and that is the eviction process. So there we are, and our peak memory usage was 8,806, which is about half of what we used before. Imagine that. So if you are running a graphics card with 12 GB of VRAM, you would not have been able to render this scene as it was before without the texture caching. With the texture caching enabled, you would be able to render the scene without any problems. It did take a little longer. We're looking at 55 seconds. So it does take a toll on render times. Generating the Mip-maps and updating them if need be, and then selecting and evicting those during the render, it takes a toll on the render time. So if we compare this now with the render without texture caching again, we're looking at 17,620 compared to 8,806. That is a big difference, and it only took about 9 seconds longer. I think that's a trade-off worth it. Now let's check the same thing on a 4K render. So I'm going to go to a new slot and I'm going to switch my output over to 200%. And one more time, I'm going to turn off the texture cache and render this out. All right, there we are. We're looking at 1 minute and almost 50 seconds. And again, we're looking at 17,621 megabytes for the memory, which is pretty much on par with the 10K render. So let's go to slot 4 and try that same thing with texture caching enabled. So I'm going to turn on my texture caching again, and I'm going to hit render one more time. And once again, once the render progresses, keep an eye on the memory up here. That is why I used smaller tiles, because then we can keep an eye on the eviction process and what impact it has on the flexibility of the VRAM usage as textures get kicked out. And you can already see how it is going down as we get to the smaller tiles here. Composite. And there we are with our 4K render, and we're looking at 8,638 peak memory usage and 2 minutes and 9 seconds. So if we compare this to no texture cache, that's about 20 seconds in difference. But look at the memory usage. That's just ridiculous. So that is definitely a trade worth making between the memory usage and the render time. So if your machine has less VRAM, that is definitely something to consider. And here's another scene where I did the same thing. I just don't want to run you through the whole thing again. So here's a 1080p with no cache. We're looking at 6,673. And with the cache turned on, we're looking at 4,522. And we're actually faster on this one for some reason. So it doesn't necessarily always mean that it's slower. Here, the same thing in 4K. And that again is quite a significant drop in memory usage. We're going down from 7,056 to 5010. And we're even 3 seconds, 4 seconds faster. So it's not necessarily always a trade-off in render times. It heavily depends on the scene that you're working on and how many textures are in there. And of course also on the tile size that you use for your render. The one thing I didn't do for this scene was reducing the tile size. So especially the 1080p images were rendered as one big tile, and only the 4K images had some tiling in there. And that definitely plays a role in the impact on render times too, but also in the memory. So you got to figure out what works better for your machine. If you need more memory savings, then you should probably go with a smaller tile size, because then more textures get evicted as the render progresses, but it might take longer. Or if you have more capabilities, you might be able to go with a bigger tile size and trade in some of the render time for it. So it's definitely going to be a little bit of trial and error depending on your machine, depending on the scene. So there's a bunch of factors that play into this whole process. There is one trade-off though, and it's something that should be noted. The resulting quality of your render can vary by quite a bit. The current system struggles with certain high detail textures, especially roughness, normal, and bump maps. And this has the effect that some objects may look worse than they would without the texture caching. Now, a bit of loss in quality is of course to be expected when you're using lower resolution Mip-maps instead of the full resolution texture. The thing is that it affects objects differently. On some, the reduction may not be noticeable at all. And on others, like fabric down here or this pampas plant, the result might be quite significant. So if you look at especially this pampas and the fabric texture in this corner here and over here, and I switch over to the non-texture caching version, there is a clear difference in between these two. Not so much maybe down here, but you can see it over here. And especially that pampas plant here. Even here on the books, if you look right there, there's quite a bit of difference on these plants too. So it's different from object to object. Now, unfortunately, there currently is no finer control over the choice of Mip-map level, be it on a scene level or an per object basis, that would allow the user to exclude certain objects from the texture cache or control over the Mip level. Now, looking at the developer's blog, those are known limitations, and improvements in that area are on the horizon for the near future, with bias control, access to ray differentials in the shader, etc. So for now, we'll just have to live with the limitations. And even when you do a close-up render, you still have quite a difference. So this is the same pampas plant in a close-up render without the texture caching. And as soon as I turned on the texture caching, this was the result, which doesn't necessarily look bad, but it is quite a difference. And same with fabric, this towel rack here, I did a close-up render here without the texture caching, and then I did it again with texture caching, where the difference is not that significant, but it is still there. And going back to these renders here, if you look especially on these towels here and on this plant and on the plant in the mirror here, that is where you can see the difference. Although in this case, it's not even that noticeable or that extreme. So here I probably would be completely fine with it. On a scene like this, where the difference is quite a bit stronger, I probably would just choose a different object for here, especially that pampas plant. So if that pampas plant would be replaced by something else that isn't impacted as much, the difference would almost not be noticeable. I mean, I'm pretty sure you probably wouldn't even have noticed all the books here if I hadn't pointed them out, even in the direct comparison, because the difference is subtle. Same on the fabric textures. Again, there is a scene by scene and object by object thing that you have to keep in mind. So it's a bit of a buyer's beware situation, but definitely not a turn off. And be that as it may, it's still a great addition to the Cycles render engine and something many have been craving for a long time. And it will make more complex scenes easier to render on less resources. And I also trust the developers will address all these issues down the line and improve on them. So I'm looking forward to where this is headed. That's all for this one. Don't forget to check out Craftsman Cabinet Creator. Links in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.